What's up, YouTube? Coming at you today with sort of a quick video, an overview of a new knife that I picked up, the Kershaw Thermite. And this knife is pretty hard to get right now, and just a quick heads up. First thing, I did find mine at my local Cabela's, and Cabela's is the first vendor to have both this knife as well as the Cryo 2, another hard knife to get right now. And they're not only available locally, but if you don't have a local store, you can go to Cabela's online and find them there. So first of all, if you missed my last video, just a quick little issue I've ran into with this knife, it's actually a pretty big issue, is the fact that the pocket clip has been impossible for me to remove. I've bent 3 T6 Torx bits. Here's one of them. Focus. And you can see there how it twisted and bent. If you push down real hard and twist, that's what will happen. If you don't push hard and twist, you'll just strip the screw. Apparently Kershaw's dropped the ball here and used permanent or semi-permanent Loctite instead of medium strength, and other people are having the same issue as well. I hope that Kershaw gets it corrected. I do have a couple of options, one of which would be having to send the knife back already to Kershaw. So come on, Kershaw, get it together. But let's just go into the overview, guys. The knife, other than the problem that I wanted to mention right up front there, it's pretty comfortable in hand. I'm looking forward to see what it feels like with the pocket clip somewhere else, down here, right hand tip up like I prefer. But it has decent ergonomics. The flipper acts as a choil there, and you have a finger cut out, and then you have a sort of tapered rear end here that locks into the back of your hand. It is almost a 9-inch knife, so it is a full-size knife, and I will do some size comparisons. But the knife is a Sponto grind. It's a Hinderer design, and before this, the only budget Hinderer design available was the Kershaw Cryo. This is the second collaboration with Kershaw Hinderer for a budget knife, and this is the first one to have that Sponto grind. Now, the Sponto grind gives you a hollow grind back here, and then the front portion is left with a flat grind that gives you a nice reinforced tip that's going to serve you well and not be as easy to, not be as prone to breakage. And to give you an example of why that's a benefit, here's my Kershaw Blur, and the Blur is also a hollow grind. It's a higher hollow grind, so it is a little leaner, but look at the tip on that Blur. Just show you both. If you see what I'm talking about there, it's a big difference. You couldn't do any prying whatsoever with a Blur. You could do just a little bit with this knife and not worry as much. But the knife, like I said, is a flipper. It is a frame lock. It is a steel frame lock. The stone wash on the blade and the steel is really nicely done. The blade and the frame lock, that is. It's 8CR13 MOV. Again, it is a budget knife, like I said. And the first Sponto that you can get for, you know, under several $100s. The back spacer kind of has a gear pattern going on there. Sticks out just subtly past the scales. You have some machining done on the G10 side here, which the G10 side does have a liner. So it's a very solid construction. But the machining here is another thing I don't really like about it. I'd rather just have some grippy G10. This is real sharp on the edges where it's machined. And maybe that'll wear in with pocket wear. The knife is only a few days old, that's why this is just an overview. But it is very sharp on those edges. The action on it is decent. My thumb is pretty tore up right now, which is why I'm not closing the frame lock with my thumb. But this is a assist knife, so it does have the spring in there. It's not very fast. It doesn't fire hard. It's nowhere near as fast as my Cryo. You cannot de-assist this knife. I would if I could. I've de-assisted my Blur. There is a detent ball, but there is no matching hole for closing on the blade. So you are stuck with the spring in there unless you are able to drill your own detent hole. But the action, just to show you a few times there, it's like I said, it's not very fast. With the thumb studs it's faster, but with the flipper it's pretty slow. And of course with the speed safe it doesn't deploy until a certain time, so you can see I'm pretty far out there before that spring kicks in. There you go. And it's just not that fast. Now maybe that'll break in and get smoother, you know, who knows, but I'm not gonna speculate there until I use it a lot. Love the grind. It's got a little bit of a drop there and then a second drop there. It's got the swedge, the reinforced flat grind tip, the lean hollow grind, and Kershaw, as always, from my experience, just does a fantastic job with their factory edge. Phone book paper sharp out of the box, shaving sharp out of the box, and that HCR13 MOV is a decent, you know, cheaper steel from my experience. So let's give you some size idea here. I'm going to set them down and then I will pick the camera up for the right perspective. But here is the blur. Oh, excuse me. It is a little longer than the blur. Like I said, the Thermite is about a 9-inch overall knife. Almost, but this is a 9-inch knife and it is a little smaller. This is my Spyderco Pacific Salt, which is the same as the Endura, specs-wise. And then the Cryo. I'm going to put the Cryo down here at the bottom because a lot of people like me did not like the size of the Cryo. So let's pick you up now and get you zoomed in or focused in. Now you have the right perspective for the size comparison there. So it is a full 4-fingered knife, which I prefer. I don't like the Cryo because of the size. Your pinky's sort of hanging off the back, and I have like medium-sized hands. So, you know, if you have large hands, it's going to be hanging off. Hence the Cryo 2. And just to dive into that just for a second, I mentioned Cabela's had both this and the Cryo 2. The Cryo 2 was very impressive, and I probably will pick one up. But in hand, I liked this better, and I loved the stonewash. I definitely prefer the stonewash to the first Cryo 2s that I'm seeing are all the titanium nitride finish, which is okay. But I love a stonewash. But, you know, come on, Kershaw, if you're going to do the quad carry advertisement, then let me switch my own pocket clip. This shouldn't be something that has to be sent in. Oh, I'm glad I noticed that. You can see this little booger here. Looks like somebody slipped with the tool when they were installing the lock stabilizer bar, or the lock stabilizer. And, you know, these are in a clamshell when you get them, so I had no choice. I did mention buying the one on display, but I ended up going with a clamshell one because they're a bunch of goofballs at Cabela's who know nothing about knives. It's pretty funny to talk to them about knives. The knife salesman had never heard of Spyderco. Okay. Another little just funny thing I noticed that I would point out, there were 3 in the clamshell and 1 in the case. And I hope you can make it out. They all had this sort of weird thing going on at the lock bar there. I'm not sure if you can see it better, what angle. But it almost looks like it curves, and it doesn't curve, but it's had material removed on the right side here from the lock bar. So it almost looks like it curves there or is bent, but it's not. It's just had material moved on the right, and then the grind is kind of funny on the chamfering there too, and it's sort of an optical illusion. But they were all that way. I don't know if every Thermite will be or not, but all the 4 examples that I saw were. So I think this video is long enough for an overview, guys. If you have any questions or anything, certainly feel free to put them below and I'll do my best to answer them. Appreciate you guys watching my videos. Anybody who's not subscribed, please subscribe, and everybody watching, please hit the like button. Hope y'all have a great day. Thanks.